Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share my full review, the digitally digested segment for the Samsung Galaxy Note Pro 12.2. Priced at $749.99, this 32GB Wi-Fi tablet runs KitKat out of the box. That's the latest version of the Android operating system. You can go for a 64GB model for $100 more, $850. You can also drop down to $650 and pick up the exact same tablet we're looking at here without the S Pen capability. So that's just the Pro version, no Note in that title. So with that out of the way, let's talk about specifications. We've got the exact same internals you'll find with the Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition that I reviewed in the past. You're working with a octa-core Exynos chip, that's Samsung's very own ARM processor. And even though it has 8 cores, only 4 are active at one point at any given time. Based on the type of tasks it deals with. So heavier tasks will go with the more advanced half of that chip, and then the lower end tasks will be dealt with by the lower powered quad-core end of that chip. In terms of RAM, you've got 3 gigs. That's standard fare for the Pro line outside of the 8.4 version. You also have, as I mentioned, 32 gigs of internal storage, a micro SD card slot for storage expansion, a front-facing 2-megapixel webcam, a 8-megapixel rear cam with LED flash. You also have an infrared blaster with watch-on companion software for using this as a universal remote, which isn't unique to this tablet, but certainly a welcomed feature since it has only matured and gotten better generation after generation with Samsung's tablets. In terms of software, this is running on top of KitKat, Samsung's own Magazine UX, the rebrand essentially of TouchWiz, and I have to say it is very nice. Very Flipboard-centric, as you may have already noticed, giving you access to literally Flipboard right here natively. Quick access to whatever you may be interested in. You can customize that, jump into any article of interest as quickly as you would like, and essentially, once you're in there, you're consuming content the way you choose. And for those out there who, felt that this was a laggy experience, in my experience, it's been very, very good. So despite the fact that it has the same hardware as the Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition, you have to keep in mind this is a tablet that does more than any other on the market, frankly. And many people will say, what about Surface Pro 2? That is a computer. This is still a tablet running on a mobile OS. People need to keep that in mind. In terms of other things beyond that in the Magazine UX environment, you also have quick access to basically everything you would need to use as a professional. Your calendar, your email, Home Office, which is as good as having Microsoft Office, and this is pretty much a game changer for Android tablets, specifically for Samsung, and that's part of the Pro branding, is that all of the Pro tablets have this, and this now gives you the ability to really do anything you need to that Microsoft Office can. And the irony that today is the day that Microsoft Office launches for iOS, but here we have the ability right now on a Samsung Android-based tablet with a 12.2-inch display, arguably taking on laptops, Ultrabooks, for professionals that know what they need to be able to do and know that this can do it because they don't need to do video editing or Photoshop, and they want to travel light at £1.5 plus 1.65 and have enough power to get through the day, because this really does roughly 8 hours of battery use, I would say, real world. Heavy usage, 6 hours. And if you go really light on tweaking and brightness, you could probably get 10 hours out of this thing, which is impressive. And with a 2560 by 1600 resolution display, this is really top of the line in every form and fashion. But back to what we were looking at with the Magazine UX interface, Samsung clearly just knew they had to revamp things and make it look and feel more like a tablet that was their own, and they've done it. If you're a Samsung phone owner, this is going to be a natural transition for you. Quality in terms of build is strong, no dead pixels, no backlight bleed. Granted, I personally favor the 8.4, but Samsung created this tablet for those of you that I mentioned before. Don't want to carry a laptop if they do not need to. And this really is a difference maker, a game changer. You've got the S Pen, which I'll get to a little bit later, some phenomenal multitasking capability, which just has been continued to grow and mature, and now you can do 4 windows at once. I'll be demoing that as well. In terms of software that's on board out of the box, of course, the Google suite of software you expect to see is all there. You then have Chrome, the Play Store, of course, contacts, WebKit browser. For those of you that prefer it, it does overall, in my opinion, perform better than Chrome because it is optimized for the device. Your camera, which I'll be getting to, in fact, may as well take a look at it right now. As I mentioned, 8 megapixel shooter on the back. You can switch in and out of still and video mode. In terms of the actual different scene modes, you have a bevy. This isn't new with Samsung devices, but it is definitely welcomed. And most of them are practical, and they do actually work, believe it or not. And the visual cue is a good thing because any novice can look at this and figure out exactly what they're working with. Beyond that, you have the ability to jump in and out of some settings, whether we're talking about the photo size, the burst mode, a variety of things, face detection, metering, stabilization, also control of your video quality and stabilization there, and then general settings like geolocation, volume, white balance, exposure value, all of the things that you would find on a camera, essentially. You can switch between front-facing and rear camera right there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Your mode right here is displayed, night mode. That's because, well, it sees a dark scene because the camera is facing a table right now. But that's pretty much it. Auto up here, again, indicating what mode we're in. That's why it's in night mode. It's auto detecting. And that's pretty much it. Quick access to your gallery for post-photo activity, and you can also bring up different filters right here, as you can see. So, nice overall full-fledged camera application here. Samsung knows what they're doing. They've been around the block. They're making more tablets than just about anybody right now, and for good reason. The 12.2-inch Note has a lot of flexibility that really no other tablet does. So while many may feel that they would have hoped for better hardware under the hood, or newer hardware, I should say, I have to say that even though a Snapdragon 800 could have been in here, you would have got less battery life. Keep in mind, with that great battery life, you will need to charge this overnight practically because it is just a huge battery inside this tablet to match its form factor. Now, the perks that come with this tablet I've already covered in previous videos. Samsung gives you a wide variety of credit, whether we're talking about 25 to the Play Store, as well as Hulu Plus subscriptions. These are all trials, but 3 months to all of these different vendors is a very nice taste to get your feet wet and find out what is right for you. New York Times, Dropbox, you get out of the gate 50 gigs. WebEx is on here, again, speaking to professional use. The Watch On is free, as I mentioned before. Bloomberg Business Week. Evernote, you're getting a year. So a lot of things. Audible. It's just a nice offering because no other tablet manufacturers do this. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of browsing. Wi-Fi performance on here is exceptional. I did not mention AC connectivity, which I can leverage here, is great. And some of the best, I'll show you when I jump into the settings, that you're going to find on any tablet. Now you can see there was a little bit of lag there, but I think that's just because the page was still loading. You can see now, butter. So it's really, I'm not going to say it's subjective. If you present information in the wrong light, you can, draw incorrect conclusions. But performance here really is stellar. Let's go ahead and jump to another website. And the nice thing about this keyboard is you really won't find the need to buy a replacement. That can't be said for all keyboards, especially on tablets when there are so many Android tablets in the marketplace. Trying to get to the desktop site, but it doesn't seem to want to allow me. Oddly enough, let's try requesting it this way. Odds are ESPN will still, oh no, they accepted it. So again, looking good. I mean, performance is solid. So for the user that needs this as a, whether you're a student or you want it for work and you don't need that laptop because here you're getting the battery life and all the capability that you need, I don't see any reason why this is considered expensive, especially with the cost of every other tablet out there. People are buying iPads for $1,000 that can't come close to this in performance, and with the expanded storage capability, eventually firmware update, this will be taking 128 gig cards. Yeah, it's that simple. This is really one of the most powerful tablets ever made, even though it is just a Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition with a 12.2-inch display. Let's go ahead and jump over to YouTube, take a look at some flash playback. Let's take a look at this video sample, which I think should be a good one. Audio performance, by the way, is also quite nice on this tablet, although that won't come through in this video. Realistically, the next step for tablets is 4K, but when that's going to come, I don't know, because when you see resolution like this, and at least what I perceive there is just amazing video quality coming off of a tablet like this, something that you'll be hard-pressed to even find in an Ultrabook form factor right now at a price that's comparable to this, even though, again, respect the limitations of a Windows or Mac full-blown operating system as opposed to a mobile operating system like iOS or Android. It's just amazing what Samsung has put together here. And they have matured this software in a way that the once frowned upon TouchWiz, the new magazine UX, I think is a welcomed overlay. Not everyone is going to love it, but the majority of users do enjoy what it brings to the table. So let's take a look at more of that. Because that's something I do want to focus on. Web browsing is going to perform very well here because it's got great Wi-Fi performance, whether you're using AC connectivity or not. But on that point, let's jump into settings. And I'm going to show you right now exactly how good that, AC connectivity is. Nowhere near the router. And you can see what that link speed is coming up at. So, and we weren't even before on the AC end of things. It had auto connected to my 2.4 gigahertz network. So let's go ahead and just do a quick test, because that makes me wonder now how much faster things really could have been. Okay, we got mobile again. That is not what I meant to do. Let's go ahead and go to desktop. But keep in mind that we are not close to the router, so a bit of a trade-off there because the 5 gigahertz range doesn't have quite the reach that the 2.4 does. Not making excuses, it's a reality. New objects in a new area. So once the page loads up, things are smooth, as I mentioned before. So let's move away from web browsing. Let's talk about more about the software that's on board. I know I touched on Hangcom Office Viewer and the actual capability to really use this tablet as a professional piece of hardware, and that's because it legitimately can be used in that capacity. In terms of how so, I'm going to show you right now. So let's say you want to create a PowerPoint presentation. Here you go. Every feature that you have in Office, it's here. No limitations, essentially. You're not getting the Office name, but you're getting the Office functionality. Same applies to PowerPoint. Excel. You need to create an Excel document. You have that capability. Formulas, no problem. And this is critical stuff. The fact that this was a gap in workflow essentially for tablets to not have a true, legitimate replacement for Office it was a major problem in terms of making a case for a tablet like this ever even existing. So nice that Samsung's put this on all the Pro models, but clearly here in the 12.2 environment is where it really shines, because this is giving you the largest surface area to really get work done, especially if you want to take notes and even have them convert. We'll get to that a little bit later. These are all things that this tablet can do on the fly, quickly, easily, and for the convenience of a pound and a half and change. But back to the other applications. Of course, Word is there as well. Easily create a new document. And everything looks familiar because it is. The keyboard is great. Everything's just done right. I don't know what else to say. The Samsung apps, you have the perks. They give you credit in some instances to their own application store. You will have to download Handcomb out of there. It does not come stock installed or on the tablet out of the box. So that is an update you will have to run. It will take a few minutes, no question about that. But the Samsung suite of software, you've got Action Memo, Alarm, Evernote, because you do have that 1-year subscription out of the box as a perk. Flipboard, because it is baked into the entire magazine UX. Help mode for that hand holding. Anyone new or just that wants to find out something specific on how the tablet works, very easy to get there. Knox for security. You have S-Voice, Scrapbook, SideSync, and Sketchbook for Galaxy, which is also nice to get since that generally is a pay application. In terms of tools, well, calculator and downloads. And this is stock, by the way, folks. Business Week because of the subscription, your calendar, your camera, Chrome, contacts, Dropbox, email, e-meeting. Again, speaking to the pro nature of this tablet, the gallery, Handcomb, as I've gone over and over again, your WebKit internet browser, Google Maps, music, your file browsing piece of software, Netflix for even more consumption, New York Times, the Play Store, Remote PC, which is great. I'm not going to be demoing that today, but it does work, and it works well, and it should. They didn't have to bake this into the version of the magazine UX we have here, but it wouldn't be a pro if they didn't have this sort of capability. Many of the competitors already have this sort of functionality, so it made sense for Samsung to be on point, if not exceed expectations. S-Note, some revamping there. Going to go ahead and jump into that in a second. Quick access to settings, Twitter, their video player, Watch On, which I'll also be showing in a minute, which is great for the universal infrared remote control capability of the tablet. WebEx, more again, speaking to the pro, and a world clock. That's it. Widgets, there are a variety of them associated with the applications I just discussed. And they're nice. They are, in a sense, made for this tablet. So let's get down to business here and go ahead and jump into, I'll start off with S-Note, and I'll also discuss the S Pen functionality that I've reviewed in the past. Nothing new here really to report. It's all pretty much the same. But S-Note is the application, the backbone of the Note line. And essentially, you can download previous notes. I'm not going to. You've got control of the pen right there, so you can select whatever sort of writing utensil, pen, paintbrush, marker, whatever you want to use. You can control the actual thickness of the line here, even though this is a completely pressure-sensitive display with palm rejection. No need to worry about that. And I can just start to, write here, and you can see everything is really smooth. Fantastic experience. The S Pen has been tweaked a little bit, but still very similar to previous generations. I feel like Samsung says they've changed it every time around, but it still seems very similar. It's a little bit thicker, I think. You've got the holder up here on the right-hand side. As soon as you remove it, it has an indication to let you know. You can see it right there, actually, that the S Pen is out. I haven't even showed this through the course of the 22 minutes, but those of you who are familiar with TouchWiz already know all about Samsung's quick access to different controls within essentially power controls within the tablet, and they've redefined it a little bit. This is a redo. Love it or hate it, it's not my favorite. I kind of preferred the old method, but it's still clean, works well. You can long press to go directly into a setting, as well as customize this, and you have a variety of different quick controls here. So definitely good to have quick access to that. Screen brightness, by the way, has been at 100% throughout the course of this review. So clearly this is nice and responsive. You can also do all sorts of things like text conversion, formulas. I mean, this does it all, and it works well. So whether you're an artist, a student, both, this is a great solution for just about anybody who wants to have pen input and the largest surface area at an affordable price point. And yes, $750 is really an affordable price point when you think about a 12.2-inch Wacom tablet that really does work as advertised. Let's go ahead and jump out of this because I don't want to focus too much, even though it is a significant application. I want to continue to move along and talk about Watch On, because the infrared remote control is an overlooked feature. Many think of it as a gimmick, but Watch On is really great, and that's because it is a very clean and well-driven, despite that little cue there, well-driven piece of software for using this as a universal remote. So essentially, to get started, it's going to populate all of the information based on your zip code, your cable provider, and then you've got visual cues for everything that's on. You can select them, and it will just throw it right onto the TV, which is very cool. Essentially, for me personally, it's something that I use on an occasional basis, not all the time. If I'm looking for something, if I don't have anything to watch, that's when I would lean on something like this. I think that it is a novelty, but when you look at competitive products, there really aren't any. LG has attempted with their infrared blaster on their LG G Pad 8.3, but it really doesn't touch what Samsung's been growing here for a while. So whether you want to jump into your actual TV guide and look at everything that's on, I mean, it's all here. And this is a very nice value-added bonus to a tablet that's pitched on being driven for pros. So that's another reason I wanted to bring up Watch On. And overall, all of the software here is really useful. You can't argue at this point that they've really done too much on bloating unless you hate the perks, because those are really arguably the bloatware-centric apps, because those are the ones that are only good until the trial is over unless you're going to start paying for their services. But Samsung wants you to know that this is a media consumption device beyond being a business tool. And right now, I would argue this is the best business tablet on the market, student or business, I should say. And that's because that extra screen real estate, the pen input, conversion, formulas, the entire Office suite, the cameras actually being decent as opposed to most tablets out there. I would say these are top tier. That doesn't make them great because these are tablet-based imaging devices still, but they're comparable with Samsung smartphones, not quite with the Note 3, no 4K here, but I think 4K is kind of a ridiculous novelty in smartphones to begin with right now, considering it still isn't mainstream in your own bedroom or living room. But it'll get there. So overall, this is a great tablet. Let's talk a little bit about the S Pen. For those of you unfamiliar, when you hover, you do get a little indicator. If you hit the button, you will bring up a quick launch menu. You have Pen Window, S Finder, Screen Write, Scrapbooker, and finally the Action Memo. Now, Action Memo, I've demoed all of these things. Samsung is going to explain it to you. You can tie actions to your memos. This is intelligent memo taking. I've demoed it before. So whether you write down a phone number or you write down a place, you can then hit a button and basically tie it to an action. So whether that's a contact, an email address, a web search, maps, it's all there. So very cool, and something you wouldn't necessarily think about realistically. And I'll demo that right now. So essentially, I just asked it to pull up Central Park through a memo. And there you have it. So very cool. This is very easy to do. Again, you can do this with phone numbers, anything you want pretty much. But this is not a novelty. This is a useful piece of software that only exists with Samsung's Note lineup. Jumping back, you can see now that is floating, and that's part of that multitasking theme that I mentioned before, which we'll get to after I'm done with the S Pen. In terms of other things, the pen window, that gives you the ability to draw a square in an area and then essentially select whatever application from this list you'd like to put in that window. That is a form of multitasking, no question, so I could technically create a Word document right here and start to write. I would have to change to to handwriting input, but that's easily done, and you can actually just write what you'd want to convert here. So there you have it. Simple as that. And you can move this around on screen, resize it. I mean, it's really up to you. You can make it full size. So very versatile, very cool. And this is where, again, show me another tablet that can do this. And there really is nothing else out there like this. And that's why I like this product so much. And I think people who've been waiting for it will be very satisfied with what it delivers. Again, you can open up as many of those pen windows as you like with as many different features as you like, at least from that list. And again, just to show you that list, that's what it consists of. And this has grown every time Samsung has updated their software. So this is only going to get better. Let's move on to the next feature, which is the S Finder. The S Finder essentially allows you to search all of the information that you have on the tablet. To me, it's useful if you need that sort of searching capability. Nothing really to demo there. Beyond that, the last application, or excuse me, I have two more to go. Screen Write takes a screen capture. You just heard or maybe didn't hear the shutter noise. You can now draw all over your screen cap, save, share. You have all the customizations of the S Note application built right into this. Works really nicely. Another great, convenient application, fun to use, both creatively, professionally. Also, if you need to annotate PDFs, you're going to love this device. That's another thing it does flawlessly. Beyond that, the last, now this is the final function, is the of Air Command, the quick launch application for the S Pen. Is the screen draw. So essentially you can select something on screen and capture it and save it, catalog it. So let's say I just wanted this, and you can see it actually indicates whether or not it's pulling the entire page or an element by what it highlights. I didn't do a great job there. I'll try again. The instructions are there, but you can see it's highlighting right now the Play Store and contacts. So that's all it's going to save. This applies to web pages, anything you do. And now you've got that collected content, and you can do anything you want with it. So very cool things. These are not new to this tablet. This is all from the Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition. But again, the S Pen has gotten a little bit thicker, which is more natural to write with. In terms of overall form factor, they've done an amazing job with the weight, thickness. I mean, this tablet just is fantastic. I mean, the ability to hold a 12.2-inch tablet comfortably in your hands. I mean, this thing weighs less, I believe, than the first-gen iPad, 9.4-inch brick that it was. So there's the infrared blaster right there, center top, pinhole microphone. To the left of it, you've got your volume rocker and power button. That metal finish, it's really actually faux metal. It's not actually metal. I believe it's plastic that wraps around the device. We've got our headphone jack right there. One of the two speaker grills. Nothing else there on the left side. On the bottom, absolutely nothing. And then here on the right side, we have our micro SD card slot for storage expansion. USB 3.0, it's a micro jack for charging. This is the same plug you'll find with many USB 3.0 portable hard drives. If you own one from the last couple of years, you'll quickly realize same plug. Your other stereo speaker right there, and that pretty much rounds it out. The back of this tablet does have that faux leather finish that has become much more rubberized this generation, and it is great. We still have the stitch. It's luckily not two-tone, so it's pretty subtle, and I really think Samsung has done a very nice job with the design of this tablet. Your 8-megapixel shooter with LED flash right there. The LED isn't incredibly strong, certainly better though to have one than not. Not a lot of branding, Samsung's, name, logo, one and the same, and that's pretty much it. S Pen slot right here, just drops right in. No more worries about which direction you're putting it in, and that's pretty much it. So a really light 12.2-inch tablet with note capability, full Office suite of software, all sorts of pro geared software for someone who needs to both work and play. This is clearly very capable of playing as well. You can hook up all sorts of peripherals, keyboard, mouse, game controller, whatever it may be, jump drives. This is as versatile as any tablet on the market. In fact, in my opinion, this is the tablet to own if you're looking to replace an Ultrabook right now because of, quite frankly, its performance, price point, form factor, battery life. All of these things add up to a legitimate replacement for an Ultrabook or laptop if you do not require the extra power that those machines deliver. And this includes Surface Pro 2 because, again, not everybody needs a computer. And this has quite a few advantages over Surface Pro 2 despite not being a full-blown PC. So a lot to like here with the Galaxy Note Pro, I should say. It's the Galaxy Note Pro 12.2. And the whole new Pro lineup is really top-notch, and this tablet represents one of the best that they've got. Only downsides, really, as I've mentioned, that overnight charging that you will have to endure simply because of the size of the battery. I also mentioned I would have liked to have seen newer hardware, but that also means you could really just wait until there is a refresh, which hopefully there will be, or until this device goes down in price, which I'm sure it will, like all others. But keep in mind it will be insulated for a while. Samsung does a good job with keeping pricing firm because they don't tend to update tablets more than once a year or a little less than a year lately. So overall, really like this tablet. Software solid, magazine UX interface does a good job. I almost left out multitasking, which I don't know how. 35 minutes in, this should have been the first thing, right? So quickly, very easily, can launch, pull it up, and it's just as simple as dragging whatever you want on screen and creating it. So I've got PowerPoint running. Now I've got Word running. And remember, you can do 4 here. Now we've got a web browser. And what should we top it off with? Maybe a file browser. Let's say I want quick access to some files because I'm doing work and yeah, I need it. So there you have it. 4 things running at once. And in terms of the selection, you can see it highlights in blue whenever you actually touch. But actually, there is almost zero latency switching between different things. You can't do 2 applications simultaneously, but everything works really well here. You can resize, so however you want. And yeah, it just works really well. Multitasking does top out there, but you can add more free-floating stuff if you desire. And really, there's a strong suite of applications now that you can use in the multi-view. And really, this is the defining element of the Galaxy Note Pro lineup especially, but the entire Pro lineup with their multitasking capability. And the 3 gigs of RAM plus that octa-core chip, really, that Exynos processor, really do end up being more than enough to handle everything that this tablet has to offer. So a lot to like here. Best-in-class display, great battery life. I've mentioned all of these things over and over again, and that's because really this tablet deserves a lot more praise than it's been getting. So if you're looking to replace that laptop or Ultrabook, even if it only weighs a pound more than this and costs roughly the same, I say why not? Again, as long as you understand the limitations of working with a tablet rather than a computer, I think you're going to be very pleased with the Samsung experience. But there's really, the only thing to dislike is price point, and with time that will change. Last thing I want to just run through is the actual settings, or are the settings. In terms of Wi-Fi, I already showed you how strong that connection was. Just now it's dropped down to 175, but that's going to vary. Bluetooth, I've mentioned 4.0, your airplane mode, data usage, location services, more networks if you want to use VPN or printing capability. You can jump into the actual device, whether we're talking about sound, all of your different controls from touches to the screen lock sound, haptic feedback, which is actually very nice on this tablet. I know that's a weird compliment to pay. Display, you've got brightness. By the way, Samsung has integrated all of those gimmicks that they have in terms of detecting if you're watching, even scrolling with your eyes. I mean, crazy stuff. You may or may not use it. Some of them are actually useful, no question about it. There is the reading mode, and beyond that, multi-window, of course, can be turned on and off. Control of the lock screen and customization. Wallpaper. Your font as well as size, because, if you want to take it to huge, you can. So, it's all a matter of personal preference. And your notification panel, completely customizing that to your heart's content. Couple touches away. Very easy to do. Let me get rid of that. Accessibility. And this covers quite a bit. And basically that's everything. Blocking mode, this is another feature that you will not find everywhere. Can definitely be very useful. So overall, you have, again, one of the most powerful tablets on the market with the largest surface area available. Can't be a bad thing. Price point is the only hindrance. That will change, and really it won't hinder those of you who've been waiting for a product exactly like this. So that, I think, is what it really all comes down to. The S Pen is just a cherry, and if you don't like the S Pen, get the regular Pro version for $100 less. I think that's a very good savings, considering a lot of people don't necessarily care about it, but if you do want it, I think for $100 more, it's a great value. You can see voice controls. They're telling you can do, set alarms, camera, music, S Pen configurations here. All sorts of different options, from air command to detachment options, the sound, motion controls, palm motion. This is what I was talking about before. In order, you can capture a screen by swiping it from left to right. Smart screen is what I was mentioning before about detecting whether or not you're viewing the screen, the Smart Stay feature. These are all good things, but really gimmicks that sometimes work and sometimes don't. But for the most part, they do. And then lastly, general settings. Multiple users. Everything is here. So, from your application manager to accessories, power saving modes, your battery life. The users app is something, being able to create multiple users is something that I know a lot of people have interest in, and Samsung knows that too. That's why it is there. And that's pretty much it. I've covered just about everything. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Again, the Samsung Galaxy Note Pro 12.2 is definitely in a class of its own right now. Until we see more tablets in this size, form factor, and hardware spec, there's really nothing to compare it to, and I can recommend it to those of you who have been waiting for it, because there's really very little to dislike. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.